On this episode of the Layover Live, Jeremy Harvey stops by to talk paid media. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 136 of the Layover Live, where we bring you the top article from the Layover each week. I'm Jason Swick, VP of Digital Marketing, joined today by Jeremy Harvey of Visit Savannah. So, Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's honored to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you here as well. Brought you on because you guys are doing some stuff with paid media. So, it is without question that paid media marketing has been one of the most disrupted channels over this last several months. One of the questions I think our team has been asked time and time again during the pandemic is, hey guys, when should I start my advertising again? Now, this is a really, really hard question to answer, and one that is absolutely going to vary greatly depending on your particular destination. But one can make a pretty darn good argument right now that demand is out there and it can be harvested, especially when we start talking about things like drive markets. Now, our article of the week this week comes from FocusWire, and it talks about travel becoming more of a domestic game as fewer people are flying. And we have seen some upticks in flying, but I don't think the vast majority of people are ready to hop back into plane quite yet. So it's going to be a drive game for a while. And this is certainly true. Data has supported this for several months. We've talked about this on the Layover many times, and I think paid is certainly going to play a role in that approach. Now, at the beginning of May, our data began to show a rebound in paid traffic as we got through that kind of initial wave of COVID-19. Things steadily climbed for several weeks after that, but then leveled off as concerned of a second wave started to hit at the beginning of July. That said, things have started now picking up again, which is great to see. And our team thought it would be a really good time right now then to talk about paid media once more, as it's one of the hottest topics I think that our team gets asked about time and time again. So one destination that's out there that has begun turning the paid faucet back on, and really hasn't turned it off, so to speak, but has picked things back up, is Visit Savannah. And I'm joined today by a very special guest, their Vice President of Communications and Marketing, Mr. Jeremy Harvey. So Jeremy, welcome to the show again, and maybe a little bit of background on yourself for those that maybe don't know you.
Sure. I'm as you said, the Vice President of Communications and Marketing for Visit Savannah and Visit Tybee. In that role, I oversee all the advertising, marketing, social media, public relations, content marketing, digital, everything under the sun for our organizations. And I've been in this role since 2013. I moved to Savannah from Virginia. I worked for two other DMOs in Virginia, Visit Loudoun and Visit Alexandria, both for about 8 years each. So all my experience has pretty much been in the DMO space. But I do live here in Savannah. I love it here. I live here with my wife, Heather, and my two boys, Sean and Joe. And I also have a beagle named Daisy who lets us all live in her house. So that's great.
that sounds about right. My oldest son has a beagle also, and we're fighting for space all the time. It seems like, right? Yeah. So I know that feeling. So, yeah, for sure. So again, hey, welcome to the show, and let's just jump right into it because again, paid media is a hot topic. It's one that's kind of, I think people are a little bit nervous about talking about. So with you guys then. In Savannah, what signals, like what research and data and insights did you use when putting together your paid campaign strategy?
Well, as we went into lockdown mode, as a lot of destinations did, and around the country, people in general, we kind of delved into the all the webinars and all the research being put out. One organization, Destination Analysts, did a weekly update on American travel in the age of coronavirus, or the period of coronavirus, which was really helpful because it tracks sentiment week to week, and we could see what they were showing and sort of help guide us when we could dip our toe back into the travel marketing space. We also looked at Arrivalist. They have a daily travel index they produced. And so a lot of these data really gave us sort of a picture on the ground, so to speak, about when people are ready to travel, because that was the number one question we had, is when do we dip our toe back? When can we open up the doors, so to speak, and really allow us to really start putting the message out Savannah was open for business.
Yeah, and I love to hear you say that because it's a similar approach that we felt like DMOs could benefit from, right? It's, hey, what is sentiment out there, which you guys did with DA. So shout out to Aaron and the team out there. I think they've been an unbelievable resource during this time, and they've been very consistent and helpful. So they do a wonderful job. So again, that's one of the areas that we plug as well for DMOs to look out there. Arrivalist as well, is if we're looking at location intelligence data. Let's see what's happening out there. Are people actually moving and coming back into the space? That's stuff that we look for. And then your own analytics, right, which you've mentioned is very important as well. We want to see those indicators on the website that are telling us that people are looking again. So all those things then led to some recent campaigns. I know you guys have kicked off in the summertime. So tell us a little bit more maybe about some of these recent campaigns then, Jeremy. What's changed from previous years? I know some things have probably changed, and maybe some things have stayed the same. So talk a little bit about maybe some of the recent campaigns you guys have ran.
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. Like I said, when we dove back into doing paid campaigns, we looked at all that data, we looked at our analytics, and we tried to discern as much as we could when it was right. And so after pausing our campaigns in March, we decided in early to mid-May that it was time to turn that spigot back on and really start putting the message out. But the data really showed that that drive market was going to be big, and we're typically a drive market destination. We do a co-op campaign with our airport to go after nonstop flight markets, but really our most frequent visitor comes by car, and so we really kind of narrowed our focus into that drive market. But also we kind of really wanted to really focus on people that were looking for a certain type of experience. That's one of the things we saw from the research, the outdoor experiences at beaches and things like that. Things that we have here with our beach on Visit Tybee and the outdoor experiences that Savannah offers, really helped us to fine tune the message. And so we launched really right after after Memorial Day with a really hard focus on just generating room nights, conversions, bottom of the funnel campaigns, really to prop up that industry, because we knew if people came and spent overnight, and there was a large group of people that we knew were out there that were ready to travel and felt safe to travel, really hitting those people. But we purchased data as well through a variety of vendors, and we purchased data of people who came to Savannah last summer. And so we kind of hit those people, but also we purchased data of people who traveled at the early part of the pandemic who weren't afraid to go out, and so overlaid that. And then we did lookalike targeting as well, because that allowed us in those drive market target audiences really to go after the most efficient way to bring in the likeliest visitors. And again, matching up with the message of outdoor recreation. Typically we don't need to do a lot of marketing for Tybee Island Beach in the summer because that's their big season, but we thought we can really leverage the beach this year for Savannah to say you can come to Savannah and have a beach experience while you're here. That became a much more stronger message in our campaign.
Yeah, I love to hear that. Again, data. That's the thing that we look at, right? Those are the indicators that tell us when we should be turning things back on. Love to hear the way that you guys were leveraging that and using that for some of your recent campaigns, which was great. Drive market focus naturally makes a lot of sense. But that data is really, allows us to then make the observations, which then lead to those insights. So we can execute the campaigns and are always on marketing and doing those kind of things, which is fantastic. So, looking at that then, what are you guys using then to measure success? For some demos that we've talked to along the way, they're still measuring some of the same things. But I'd like to ask you the same. What success metrics and KPIs are you guys using then to tell you that things are working and not working?
Sure, yeah, and we tend to Zeke Coleman, and I'll give a shout out to my team. But Zeke Coleman kind of runs our digital paid campaigns. He's always great because he always starts discussions when we're talking about campaigns is what's our goal and work back from there. Because if you don't start with that, your likeliness of hitting that goal is hard to achieve. And so we knew this campaign, the primary goal of that is booking room nights. And so how do we measure that in terms of the end of the campaign? Well, we use a variety of tools. We use a Dara Impact. which allows us to track not only the room night searches, but how many room nights are generated. We pixel as much as we can. We've used vendors and have used vendors for this campaign that tracks the credit card spend. So it tells us how much in terms of accommodations were spent, and also, in terms of the other things that people spend on a trip, the transportation costs, dining, retail, attractions, all those kind of things, which was very important. But that was kind of icing on the cake. Is really how much did we invest and how much return did we get? We also track other metrics too that help us track the success of a campaign. Mostly it's vanity metrics in terms of traffic to the website, our campaign traffic to the website specifically. We were lucky in that year to date, we've not seen a dip. It's been pretty flat for organic traffic to our website, but campaign traffic is up 34%, which was great. And so knowing that, we're getting the right people that we're targeting to the site was great. But also we analyzed what pages were resonating and what pages were the most frequented, the longest time on page, and 2 of the top 6 pages were safety related. And so, as we developed the campaign, we really wanted to make sure we had good safety protocols in place in the destination, but also that we told that message to visitors, because that was a big concern of them. We also get data from our partners at the end of the campaign in terms of how many room nights were booked and all that kind of data. So at the end, we kind of compile all the data that we've generated to see did we hit the mark or not. And we do get updates periodically as we go through the campaign to help us fine tune and optimize. But it's really the end of the campaign report that tells us for sure that we hit the right audience.
Boy, I tell you what, a lot of really, really good stuff. I love to hear that you guys are measuring success from the top all the way to the bottom. And let me further elaborate on that. So looking at, I think many times we kind of live or die by some more top of funnel or more like what you would call like vanity or even performance metrics, right? We look at things like reach and follow and those type of things, and then we may look at and peel back some performance metrics and see like cost per click and CTR, which are all very important. But I love that you guys are even digging further and digging into like, okay, what happens after the click, right? After the click, then is it leading to arrivals? Looking at Visa View data to look at more bottom line type metrics. What's that turning into from an impact standpoint? I love that you guys are doing that. I think it's something that we're going to start to see is probably be a standard in some way, shape, or form, because as DMOs, as we've tightened things back up, and as marketing budgets are going to be, we're scrutinized before, they're going to be scrutinized even more now because they're going to want to see a return on investment, which has been a challenge. The fact that you guys are doing a lot of that stuff today just allows us to be more efficient marketers and help to defend some of the decisions we made. Or if anything, to be able to say, hey, we went down path A, we then analyzed data from top to bottom, and based on that, we are still continuing some things, but now we've pivoted to path B. I think that's a great way to market, and I'm glad to hear you guys are taking a really kind of a full funnel approach as best you can to be able to really justify some of your marketing and try to show an ROI there. So that's going to kind of lead in, I think, to my last question then for you, Jeremy, before we wrap things up. And what we like to ask for is, what advice do you have for fellow destination marketers out there? Tips that you'd like to share, or just anything, because I think it's very rare that with all the data that we've been tracking, we track more than 230 different analytics accounts. To hear that you guys have done really well organically and to see campaign traffic up is not the norm. So I'd love to hear your advice on what you recommend for fellow destination marketers out there, or any tips that you'd like to share as they start to begin to turn their faucets for paid media back on.
Sure, yeah, and marketers and destination marketers and specifically have so many different hats to wear and metrics to track and performance to achieve. It can be hard. It can be overwhelming, especially when you're in a period like 2020 where you kind of have to throw the marketing plan out the window and figure out how to best achieve what you need to achieve. But really, it really comes down to well, I have two pieces of advice I would say. Drill down to your most important KPIs. Figure out what that is, and that may be different for different destinations. And for us, it was generating those room nights was the number one thing we wanted to show that we were focused on and that we were performing in generating. And so figure out what that KPI is, and then just stay laser focused on it, so you can report on it later and say, as you know, this is what we tried to do, and this is what the results were. And I think that's good probably for any time, but really in the time we're in, it's really so valuable to keep focused, keep your eye on the ball. And the second part I would say is build your network. I have a group of pals, and I'll give a shout out to BTDE, the best travel dudes ever. I think you've probably had some other people talk about that, but I mean, we kind of joke about it, but it's just a group of friends that I've made over the years in travel and tourism, and we have a Facebook group that we keep, and it's really important to me because these are guys that do the same thing I do. And I can't really go home and explain the level of detail or challenges like to my friends and family because they don't live in that world. And so these guys really know what we're all going through. And I think that's so valuable to build your peer set that you can really run ideas by, you can learn from, and then you can also blow off some steam because this is a crazy time and we're living in 2020 and it's so important. So that's the only thing I'll say about that. But build your network and focus on your most important KPI.
Well, and I tell you what, that is excellent advice, right? I mean, it sounds so simple to think about those KPIs, and it's going to be challenging to hit those, but figure out those ones that are the most meaningful to you and get laser focused on that. Boy, that is great insights there, Jeremy. And then what I really love, and haven't honestly heard a lot of it, we might have heard of it, like you said, talk about in Facebook groups or things of that nature, but really leaning on those networks, right? Building those friends that are around you. We're all in the same same boat right now, so to speak. We all have the same problem. So to find that group that you can talk to bounce ideas off of, bounce things off of, but and also to your point too, just to maybe vent and get some things off your chest, right? We don't, I think as marketers under pressure and as we move higher up, our teams, even from the folks that are specialists all the way up to the executive level, there's a lot of pressure right now. And I think to have somebody there to be able to bounce ideas off of, to talk about those things and get some of that stress off so we can recharge our batteries, I think is excellent advice. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing that as well as some of the great things that you guys are doing right now. So thank you very much for doing that.
Sure. You're welcome. Thank you.
You bet. And thanks for tuning in each and every week. If you're not subscribed, please do so now. We're also available on Spotify and iTunes if you want to consume us through audio podcast. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next time, and have a great day.